Hi, everybody. Welcome to drop number 17, the second to last drop in this series. And in this video, we're going to talk about, as I always say, something very, very important. We're going to talk about culture. We're going to see Maslow's take on culture and societies. And it's going to be really, really interesting because Maslow is going to offer us here a way to assess culture, a way to know objectively when a culture is good, it's healthy, it's conducive to self actualization, or not, or when it's conducive to the opposite of self actualization, when it's toxic. So we'll see. We're going to get a very clear understanding of values and how to use these values to evaluate culture. So let's start with this quote. And Maslow writes, much disturbance in children and adolescents can be understood as a consequence of the uncertainty of adults about their values. Okay, very, very important. I hope you watched the previous video, drop 16, on B values, because we're going to be talking about values again here in connection to culture. So, a lot of problems dealing in among youngster children, adolescents, teenagers have to do with values. And continuing with the quote, as a consequence, many youngsters in the United States live not by adult values. This is me. I put in brackets B values because in the end, these are good, healthy values conducive to self-actualization. Youngsters in the United States do not live by these values, good values, adult values, but by adolescent values, which of course are immature, ignorant, and heavily determined by confused adolescent needs. Okay, another thing we're going to talk about more in a moment about needs. An excellent projection of these adolescent values is the cowboy or western movie or delinquent gang. Okay, friends, Maslow wrote this book, if I'm not mistaken, towards the end of the 1950s. So that was a while ago, right? And you can rightfully say America was a different place. We were living in a different world back then. However, the struggles that we're dealing with culturally are pretty much the same. Because I mean, think about it. In back in the 1950s, Maslow already identified that this was an issue. This message we get, especially young people get from the media and especially the entertainment industry, movies, television, and this idealization of the cowboy, the hero, the good guy who goes out and kill bad guys, kill Indians, like in many, many cases, right? In many Western movies, those were the bad guys. Okay, I hope you see how misguided that idea was in the 1950s. Of course, historically, yes, there were conflict with Native Americans and the early settlers, yes. But you see, I still remember because I grew up watching some of those movies, some of those westerns, and you know, as a child, you grow up thinking, yeah, those are the bad guys, the Indians. Tell me how different that is from today's movies, in which there's so much. Actually, right now, there's just so much violence in our movies, and teenagers, children, adolescents, they grew up watching these images and getting this idea that it is the right thing to do to kill bad guys with with no mercy. And it's so confusing today when it comes to values. I'm talking about today's movies. You're not really sure the good guy is a good guy essentially. So we have that other issues, right? We watch movies today in which the hero, it's more an anti-hero than a hero, right? It's like the bad guy being the main character, the protagonist. And as an adolescent and teenager, you wonder, wow, so is that the model I'm supposed to follow? A lot of confusion regarding values among young people for sure. That hasn't changed. Okay, actually, it has worsened over the years. So, but there's more. Maslow says, from this point of view, a society or culture can be either growth fostering or growth inhibiting. Okay, so this is very, very important, that we understand if our culture is conducive to self-actualization or not. The sources of growth and of humaneness are essentially within the human person and are not created or invented by society. This is a brutally, brutally important point. I'm gonna read that sentence again. The sources of growth and humaneness are essentially, fundamentally within the human person, and they are not created or invented by society, which can only help or hinder the development of humaneness. Just as a gardener can help or hinder the growth of a rose bush, but cannot determine that it shall be an oak tree. So, the gardener has one job, right? To produce growth, healthy growth in a plant, let's say. But the gardener cannot change the nature of the plant. The plant comes with its own nature. And that the role society or culture plays. Okay, culture cannot tell us what it's like, what a human being should be and how we should grow and develop. No, that's not the role of our culture. We already come with what's necessary for our own development and our own health, our own growth. Okay, I hope that's clear. These are not social construct, friends. Being a healthy individual, self-actualized individual, has nothing to do with social constructs. These are things that are part of our nature. So let me finish that quote. This is true even though we know that a culture is a sine qua non for the actualization of humaneness itself. So society, culture, it's very, very important. Maslow is not saying here that culture is not important, it doesn't matter. For example, culture provides language, abstract thought, ability to love. It triggers these things in us. But these things exhibit, it says here, but these things already exist as potentialities in human germplasm prior to culture. Once again, same idea. Yes, it is in a culture, in a society, in a community that we learn to speak, to use language. We learn how to develop abstract thinking, develop the ability to love. It's true. But these things already exist in human beings potentially. They're part of our nature, our DNA, if you want to put it that way. It's not that culture created these things. So I hope that point it's really clear. The culture, the community helps to activate, to actualize this inherent need of growth and development that we have inside each one of us. Okay, one more thing before going to the next slide. Maslow says, the better culture, right, we're using in quotes, because we're judging, we're evaluating. The better culture gratifies all basic human needs and permits self-actualization. The poorer cultures do not. The same is true for education. Oh boy, I can speak for hours about education. I have a million things to say, but we're gonna save that for maybe another video. But okay, when it comes to culture, if you're in a culture that promotes growth, what do you mean by growth? Self-actualization. What do I mean by self-actualization? I tell you in the next slide. But basically, there is a way we can know, and we don't have to be geniuses, I guess. Even though at this point we know so much about human nature, about societies and psychology, that these things that for millennia, especially the ancient thinkers, they consider common sense. Okay, now they're not as commonsensical, but at least we have research and we have enough evidence to back up that ancient common sense. And so we'll see. How do we judge a culture? How do we know what exactly leads to self-actualization, growth, and so on? Okay, take a look at this triangle. Now, if there is an idea Abraham Maslow is famous for, is this triangle, the so-called pyramid of needs or hierarchy of needs. Okay, and it's interesting because I bought the book Towards the Psychology of Being because I want to know more about the pyramid of needs. And actually, there's none of that in the book that we're discussing, Towards the Psychology of Being. There's no mention, no reference to the pyramid of needs. But the ideas are there though, same ideas. Now, this is what Maslow is mostly famous for. And take a look at the bottom needs. These are the most fundamental essential needs in a human being, right? Physiological needs, need for food, water, shelter, obviously, right? Clothing, sleep. I mean, if we don't have those, we cannot survive. These are survival needs, very, very fundamental. But look at the next level. Once we have that as human beings, once we have that taken care of, okay, we have a secure food supply, water, we have shelter, and that's not a problem. That's not a struggle. Human beings tend to look at the next level of needs or tend to feel the need for safety and security, to be healthy, to have a stable job so we can continue providing for our food and shelter and so on. Property, right? We feel the need to have stuff, right? To have a car, to have a house, and so on, to have a family, social ability, feeling that we can function properly in our society, in our communities. That's a necessary thing. Okay, now having secured these two things, I would say most people, at least in the United States, this is where most people live in the first two, the bottom level of needs. Sometimes you see people on the third level, right? And the third level in yellow says love and belonging. The need for friendship, that it's meaningful friendships, family, intimacy, sense of connection. Okay, this is a little different from family at the orange, let's say, level, because this speaks of more intimate relationship, like really having really close, good friends you can open up to about very, very important personal stuff. Okay, that it's a need, a very important need. Okay, let's say most people in American culture live on these three levels. These are the three things that most people in the United States and most likely in the world consider super important. But here's the thing. There's two more levels. And friends, this is not a social construct. This is based on research, okay? Once we have love, belonging, safety, security, and physiological needs taken care of, there's still room for growth. And if we have these three things, these three levels, we're going to feel inside that we want more out of life. What do we want? Look at the green level. We want to feel confident. We want to feel confident, comfortable in our own skin, right? We need that. Human beings need that to feel achieved, to feel fulfilled, to feel we have the respect of other people, to feel that what we do and who we are matters to people. Other people see our lives as, wow, that's a really good life. Wow, what you do for a living is really, really cool. It's really important. So we need to feel that sense of achievement. Okay, ask anybody, do you think it's important to feel confident? I mean, everybody will tell you, of course. Do you think it's important to feel accomplished? Like you've accomplished something important, that you feel that you have succeeded in life professionally? Do you think that is an important thing? I mean, of course. Think about graduation for a moment. When we graduate from university, I mean, what do? We have these huge ceremonies of graduation with confetti and music and celebration, and we put on a toga and we invite our family because it's such a big accomplishment, right? We celebrate it. It's such an important thing. We keep our diploma on a visible place in our house or office, so because we take pride in those achievements. That's important in life. Really, really important. But here's the question. How often does our culture through the media and entertainment industry, how often do they promote these things, these needs? How often do you hear that message? Yes, you need to feel confident. You need to feel achieved. You need to feel that what you do matters. You need to um, you need to have the respect of people. You want that. You need that. And and the problem in our culture is that we don't pay a whole lot of attention to this level, the green level. And among young people, among teenagers, today we would say Gen Z, right? Uh, they don't see these things as very important. I mean, they know it's important, but because they're not often reminded, and they don't get this message often. They perceive it as, oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's cool, but okay, but it's not that important. How can it not be that important? So people, I've heard, unfortunately, so many young people say things like, well, it's okay. I mean, people don't respect me much, but it's okay. And I'm like, that it's not okay. That it's never okay. You must feel respected. You must feel like what you're doing is important. You are an important person, and you need to see that people regard you as such, as an important individual, that what you're doing matters. So that is so important, so necessary. So, but again, I'm repeating myself. We don't get that message a whole lot in our culture. Now, there's another level, which is self-actualization, the peak level. Once we have the bottom four, then we should look at these other things: morality, creativity, spontaneity, acceptance, experience of purpose, meaning, and inner potential. I would place in this group, in this category, high ideals. When you have a cause that you think it's worth dedicating your life to, worth fighting for, living for, and perhaps even dying for. When you have something like very meaningful religious beliefs, for example. These ideas, principles that guide pretty much your existence, give meaning to your life. Man, that is extremely important. Extremely important. Feeling that you're here in this world for a reason, that you have a mission, and that's what you're guiding your life on that mission. Gosh, that gives you a tremendous sense of purpose and joy, and helps you with so many other struggles in life. When you have a goal that you're absolutely convinced is worth pursuing, it helps you in difficult times. I mean, it makes life incredibly, I'm not, I guess I can say easy or easier, or at least manageable. Oh yes, very manageable. When you're pursuing an objective that it's worth your time, your energy, and you encounter obstacles along the way and struggles, but you keep going because you believe in what you're pursuing, and that thing gives you the strength, give you the inspiration, and the motivation to keep going. Well, that's what we're talking about here at the top level of the pyramid of needs. That is something we need, friends. We need that. So, and I hope you don't get the wrong message. Sometimes I hear people saying that this is like self-centered. It's about being self-centered, the pyramid of needs. Because at the top, it's all about you. That's not true. Because if you think about it, the bottom levels sustain the top levels. So if we don't have a family, intimacy, meaningful connections, we're not going to be able to achieve the top. So all these levels are important needs, and none of them can be neglected. None of them, right? So not such thing as the pyramid of needs being something that is self-centered or anything like that. Now, I would say though, adolescents, most young people today, they are just so caught up in, I would say, even physiological needs, right? In having a good time, having fun, feeling good, having peace, and that's it, right? But there's so much more to life. There's so much more in you that it's there. It's waiting to be activated. needs, potentialities they're only gonna make your life better, worth living for, and so on. Finally, let me pair this triangle, this pyramid of needs, with what we talked about in the previous video, B values. So take a look. These are some of the B values. The main values are in bolded letters. And I'm trying to do the same thing, okay? Continuing with the same idea of judging cultures. This is another great way to judge cultures. If your culture promotes wholeness, unity, integration, interconnectedness, teamwork, if that's your culture, then it's a good culture. In America, perhaps most places right now, it's the opposite. Our culture promotes division. Division, political division especially, right? Divides people into liberals, conservatives, divides people into races, into sex. Like in the past presidential elections, many people were saying things in social media like was a battle of the sexes, right? It was women against men. Gosh, I said this before based on Maslow research. This is a pathological, toxic way of looking at people, dividing them into good and bad friends and enemies. This is what we get in our culture today, friends, unfortunately. Division, not unity. And this is what leads to health, self-actualization. So how much does your culture, whatever you're watching, promotes that idea of unity, working together with others, with other cultures and other people who are different? Perfection, yes. How much does your culture value that? Perfection, making things great, super efficient, and not settling with mediocrity. I remember more than once when my teenage daughters came home from school with a bad grade, a C on a test. And I would ask my daughters, why are you bringing the C? Oh, Dad, I tried my best. They would tell me, I tried my best. And I said, no, honey, I'm sorry. That's not your best. You can do much better than that. Your best is the top. Your best is an A, and you can give me an A. So that's not your best. Don't tell me that's your best. But you know what that is, friends? That it's the consequence of a culture that does not promote perfection. Excellence. Excellence. We must promote excellence and value excellence and put it on everybody's mind, not mediocrity. Okay, so in America for a few years they did this. They would give in a competition, sport competition, they would give everybody a reward. It doesn't matter if you were first or second or last in the race. Everybody will get like a little trophy, participation trophy. Okay, that's not promoting perfection, excellence. So not good, friends. You might be thinking, gosh, that is so judgmental of you. Well, yes, it is. That's what we're doing here. We're judging, we're evaluating culture based on what leads to health and what leads to the opposite of health. So, okay, completion, right? You started something, you end it, and that's an important thing. We talked about this in the previous video, justice. Okay, having a very important sense of morality, of what's right and wrong. Aliveness, promote spontaneity, self-regulation, being in control of ourselves. I don't get that message a whole lot in the media. Richness, okay, appreciating diversity, complexity, that's good. And at the same time, simplicity. We talked about this in the previous video. Beauty. Yeah, many people think that this is something that it's subjective, that it's a social construct. What's beautiful? I disagree. But anyway, I think we can all recognize beauty when we see it. But goodness, yes, we must have a culture that promotes that goodness, uniqueness, novelty. Talked about this in the previous video. Playfulness, really, really important, promoting fun, humor, truth. That's an idea that's been under attack for the past, I don't know, 10, 15 years. This concept of the post-truth, like, yeah, their truth is a relative thing. You have your truth, I have my truth, everybody has their own truth. Okay, that is not promoting the truth. Self-sufficiency. Okay, if I have to pick, if I have to put one at the top on this list of B values when it comes to culture, this is the one that I would put at the top. Sufficiency, self-sufficiency, promoting autonomy, promoting independence, self-determining, being your main determinant. Meaning what? Meaning promoting the idea that your life is in your hands. Your destiny is in your hands. You're in control of your life. And that you should not be accusing or blaming people and blaming things like the system, blaming a politician, blaming a policy for your failures, for your condition. No. You are self-sufficient. You're your main determinant. Your hands, your life is in your hands. Do something about it. Take responsibility for your own life and your own future, and stop blaming other people for your condition. That's what it means, self-sufficiency. Okay, so yes, it's true. Many of us have suffered tremendous injustices and things that were beyond our control, right? And it happens to everybody, I would say. Everybody deals with tragedies and that sort of thing, and trauma. But still, your future still, your life is still in your control. If you don't believe that, well, then you're probably not in a good place existentially and psychologically. But we need a culture that promotes this. Stop blaming other people. Stop blaming the system. Stop blaming the government. Stop blaming the politicians. Stop blaming your family. Stop blaming your past. Embrace your past. Move forward towards the future. You had a bad past. You can have a good future despite of your past. And actually, we're going to talk about this on the next and last video on Maslow. But I hope this was helpful. Yes, I'm sorry if I sounded judgmental, but I insist we must be. We must be able to judge ourselves, judge our beliefs, judge our attitudes, our life based on these values, based on the pyramid of needs, and see where we are, see if we're seeking the right things, if we are pursuing the right ideas. It's super important, super necessary. So I hope this was helpful again, and I hope to see you next time on the next and last video on Maslow. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.